right, we are back here again on Instagram Live and also the La Sportiva YouTube channel. And we're joined by a very special guest and soon to be a trail correspondent for us over the weekend as well, Anton Krupicka. Thank you for coming in, sir.
That's right. Look, a multiple Leadville 100-mile winner in the mid-2000s. Also a winner here in 2014, 120K at Lavaredo Ultra Trail. And then a big comeback in 2021 to place third at Leadville after 3 years without any racing. Also on this weekend is the Western States over in California, and Anton was a second place finisher in 2010. And when looking back at the stats, I would say almost unbeatable in the U.S. ultra trail running scene from the mid-2000s to 2010. So thanks, Anton, for being here with us today. And look, I know you've flown straight in, so maybe a bit of jet lag from your home base in Colorado. But great to have you here. And look, what have you been doing so far? I know you've been busy already, even though you've just touched the European soil.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. I've been in Italy for less than 24 hours, and but I've already gone on 2 runs, so I guess making my most of the time here.
Beautiful.
I just had a short kind of community run this morning from the La Sportiva store. I don't know, there was probably close to 100 people there, and then just went for a couple hours right now on just like a local Via Ferrata. I got maybe 1,000 meters. Vertical climbing. Is it
a trail that you know, or an area that you know just from having come here, spent enough time here so often?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. This is maybe, I don't know, my 9th or 10th time in Cortina. So I've gotten pretty familiar with my favorite runs, like from town.
Sure, no doubt.
Yeah, and this one just goes up into Punta Fiammes over here. So.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah, what a way! Yeah, that's great, and that is kind of a perfect kind of segue into kind of what you've been up to over the last many years, really. But the idea of it's not just about the running, isn't it? You really are a person who encompasses all of outdoor sports.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose for me it started over a decade ago, maybe 2011. I broke my leg, and coming back from that, I really started diversifying what I was doing to stay fit, but also to make the sport itself more sustainable, I guess. Running is a pretty abusive sport, and for me, I had to really try other activities in order to maintain my excitement for it and maintain my health for it, have my legs hold up, basically. So.
When you were a kid, also going back to high school, middle school type, did you focus on one sport, or did you vary it? Did you play different sports with the changing seasons?
No, I was all in on running from age 11. Basically, I've been running for 30 years, and yeah, that was the thing. From basically for 15 years, from 1995 to 2011, I only ran, and that was it. So I have that huge kind of lifetime base of running.
Sure.
But for the last 10 going on 15 years now, have really enjoyed making the running something I can do long term by incorporating other activities. Basically, so.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that approach. The whole idea that running is a high impact sport at the end of the day, and I actually believe that trail running is the best form of running because you're going uphill and you're using kind of one set of muscle groups, and yet you're going downhill, you're using something different. So I think for the body, it's a healthier type of running you can do, but still the cross training aspect I think is so important to keep you running for as long as we want to run. I mean, you're probably like myself, where you say, I've never said I'm never going to retire. I'll just kind of maybe fade away at some point.
Yeah, I mean, moving outside is going to be the constant for me my whole life. But running, it's my roots and history and background. So I never want to give that up. And it's also the most elemental and pure and simple, I would say, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of times it's the most convenient. I go on a trip like this to Europe and just need to pack a pair of running shoes, and I can still get out in the mountains. So
yeah, absolutely. So, but rumor has it that you might be putting on a race number sometime. But is that right? Are you looking at getting?
Maybe, I don't know. Last year I focused on in the second half of the season I wanted to qualify for UTMB. And I was successful in doing that, so I have an entry into UTMB, but I'm not sure yet if I'll use it or not.
Just a little teaser there. I have an entry, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, like I said, I've been running for 30 years and, racing for 30 years. And definitely, I'm 41 now. The racing itself probably doesn't appeal to me as much as it did 10 or 15 years ago. But I get more inspired by probably some more backyard things in Colorado, just having a real close connection to the mountain ranges there, and focusing on a couple projects this summer that give me a good excuse to spend a lot of time in those mountains.
No doubt. I mean, I saw also like recently, let's see, I think you did, you have the fastest known time for the LA Freeway, which is a trail along the Continental Divide. I was taking a look at some of the pictures, photos from that was just absolutely spectacular. And picturing, I also grew up out on the West Coast in the United States, and so those mountains and those big open wild spaces and that connection, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so that particularly is literally the skyline over Boulder, and it's pretty compelling because the whole thing is between, 3,700 meters and 4,300 meters or so. So very high, very technical, and requires a lot of time on the route itself to be able to move through that kind of terrain efficiently. And that's the stuff that really appeals to me now, I guess. There's still a performance element to it, but I guess the thing that really gets me excited is the requirement that's to really know a place, I suppose, and that's what motivates me the most now, I would say.
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of you against the course rather than you competing against other people. That kind of inspires you today.
Yeah, I think certainly when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s. Absolutely, I was seeking more like external validation and trying to see how I stacked up against everyone and wanting to be the best. And I think now I'm in my 40s, a little more secure in my identity and like personality, and don't feel quite the need for that. But still, I wouldn't even think of FKTs and that kind of thing against you being against the course, but more almost like celebrating the course and honoring it by giving it your best effort and taking the time to learn the route. And that's the stuff that really gets me excited.
Yeah, exactly. I like what you say by honoring it, because of course you have a huge following, and when you're out there in those places, you are inspiring people to kind of get out there as well, be healthy, go out and challenge yourself. And would you say it's more the FKT, the fastest known time kind of things that is really kind of like giving you the why?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the fastest known times. For me, if I'm going to get the best out of myself, I have to be kind of pushing myself, I suppose, and sort of seeking like the edge of what's my best effort. But the time itself doesn't really matter. If it's the fastest known time, great. But mostly I just want to be trying, like putting forth the best version of myself on that day.
Exactly, because it's about you. And
it's like the process that goes into that is what's most important to me. Yeah, that's the stuff. But I don't know. I still get excited sometimes about, for me, like a 100-mile race is a huge challenge. And that's probably the type of racing I still find most interesting, because just simply covering that distance it still feels like an accomplishment, because it's never certain. There's still that element of adventure to it, of like uncertainty, and like you're going to have to confront yourself at some point. And it's going to be difficult. So
and I really feel that the explosion of trail running and explosion of ultra trail, comes down to that very point, that it doesn't matter where you are in the field, it doesn't matter how strong you are. And when you start that race, everybody is as nervous as everyone else, thinking, okay, I have to accomplish this distance, and I have to manage myself, I have to manage my energy, I have to fuel, I have to pace myself. And it's the same no matter where you are in the field.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the distance, the enormity of it is this humbling equalizer, basically, of no matter, as long as you're out there trying to cover that distance, you're having a very similar experience to everyone else in the race too. So, yeah.
Exactly. Now, it kind of brings me on to talking about some of the gear. Now, you've been well known over the years for going really, really minimal, very lightweight. What about in the last kind of, I would say 10 years? Is there anything that you've seen in terms of the gear, or whether it's, kind of on the nutrition side or the training side, that has kind of been a bit of a game changer in the sport?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I guess you have to mention shoes. Those, I would say recently, just maybe in the last 5 years, there's been a big step forward in terms of using supercritical foams, even carbon plates, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but and that has just more protection, more propulsive ability. That's helped a lot, I think, both in allowing athletes to train harder and recover better, but then also be faster on race day, just through a better shoe, basically. But then on top of that, I think, athletes are really, the sport is really professionalizing, I would say, in that the performance side is being taken very seriously. And as a result, people are optimizing all sorts of different things, whether it's hydration, nutrition, maximizing the amount of carbohydrate you're taking in, getting tested for how much sodium electrolytes you need, how many liters of water you should be drinking every hour. When I was racing at the top, all of that stuff was by feel, and that's fine. But of course, it's not going to be optimized then. And then I don't know. Finally, it's funny how things come in waves. But just recently, in the last year or two, people have really been going hard on heat training, even if the race isn't hot. It's a modality for improving hemoglobin mass in your blood, which is how you carry oxygen. So it's sort of like an alternative to altitude training, or like a supplement to altitude training.
Exactly. It was because that was the big that was a big deal. Sort of 20 years ago was going to altitude and then kind of being able to phase it correctly so that you had the greatest benefits from it. But always a little bit it was a little bit hit and miss sometimes for runners that didn't that weren't born or lived at altitude.
Yeah, and I think there was maybe an intuitive sense that training in the heat could improve your fitness. I grew up in a very hot and humid part of North America, and it always seemed like coming off the summer, I was particularly fit, and whenever I would go to a cooler climate, then it was this is cheating,
Okay.
It feels so much easier.
Right.
So, but now there's really been a lot of science behind it, and people are really optimizing it, and doing heat blocks. So I don't know. The performance edge of a sport is always moving forward, which is interesting. And if anything else, there's always going to be, whenever there's head-to-head competition, though, no matter how fast everyone's going, that creates drama and interest, and I think it makes the sport exciting.
I wanted to ask you just a small thing about the gear that came up when I was reading about you. Basically, on the LA freeway, you noted very specifically that you did not wear socks.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But then it made me think, for example, on a longer race, 120K, because I think the LA freeway was about 38 miles, 34 or 38 miles.
But
very technical,
so
different types of terrain.
It took me 13 hours. So.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But so on a 120, will you wear socks, or do you go sockless typically? Have you always been a non-sock guy?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. So
What about the non-shirt guy?
yeah. I would say early on in my running career, I was sockless. I know when I won Lavaredo, I wasn't wearing socks.
All right.
Western States, Leadville, not socks. But then for races, I typically am wearing socks. The reason I didn't wear socks on the LA freeway is it is a very technical route, both technical footing, but then also technical climbing and scrambling.
Right.
And so I really want my feet to be precise inside of my shoe, and I find with a sock, it's too much. You can't get as like precise of a fit with the shoe, but also my foot moves around inside the shoe more. So it's really like detailed stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many people wear socks when they're wearing climbing shoes?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Yeah. And it's a similar principle for sure. But then I didn't wear socks, but sometimes I'll wear like a lightweight gaiter over the shoe to still keep like stones and debris out of the shoe.
Sure.
Because I don't want to get blisters, but and I generally don't. Like, I'll tape very specific spots on my feet to prevent, regular hot spots.
Obviously.
But yeah, I prefer not to wear socks for.
All right.
Yeah.
But to be clear, for anybody just starting their ultra trail running journey, we probably recommend to use socks.
We have a fine selection of socks available down at the La Sportiva store here on Corso Italia.
But let's talk a little bit about, because you did just briefly mention it, the professionalism that's coming into the sport.
Absolutely.
And the fact that there are runners now that can be full-time ultra trail runners and just focus on that with all the benefits that has, especially I would say being able to train hard, but probably even more so being able to recover properly after a race. But you've kind of been you've kind of carved your own path by being a professional athlete for so many years. But how did you kind of find your way doing that when there wasn't really the accepted way of doing it with sponsorship or with high prize money and things? So how did you do that?
Man, that's a complicated question. I think. Well, first off, I think I was lucky, just like timing in the sport. I started up, like you said, in the 2000s, and I think for the last, going on 20 years, there's just been a regular uptick in the sport in terms of the interest in it and the opportunities for runners. But, I mean, this is going to be an unsatisfactory answer, but I guess the whole time I've always just tried to stay true to myself and like what interests me, and even when I was performing at the very top end of the sport, performance wasn't always my number one priority. I wasn't doing all the optimizing stuff. I wasn't digging into all the details to figure out how I could go as fast as possible. And I don't know. It's maybe this is just something that's come about as I've gotten older, but it's a more values-driven approach to the act of running rather than performance-driven. And I think performance can come out of that.
Sure.
But you have to decide what it is that motivates you and what kind of underlying value structure you have that, I don't know, organizes your life and how running fits into that.
Yeah.
And
I think
it seems like it's resonated with people a little bit, and so,
exactly right. And I think that's very true, because your values, I think, are really well respected by so many runners out there, and you're one of the people that people kind of want to aspire to be like. That you do really respect the places that you run in, and the advice that you give on social media is really thoughtful, and people really do value that. So I think there's while you say you might not have done as much as you can on the performance side, I think the fact that you're the type of athlete that people can really kind of relate to has kind of, whether you know it or not, has really helped your let's say career anyway. So
Sure.
I think I think as ultra, as people that do things out in the mountains that we love to be, I think having you kind of, talking about that right from a long time ago has really set the tone.
Just out of curiosity, like for example, though, like through your career and having a following from the early 2000s all the way through, as you've kind of transition, or I wouldn't even say transition, but as you started to kind of branch out into some other sports, other activities that maybe is not necessarily trying to win a UTMB or Western States, have you gotten a pushback from some of the people, your fans, that would prefer instead to see you out there hitting the trail?
Maybe, I don't know. I think there's sort of, you feel kind of implicit expectations from people, I suppose, because, it's just as runners, it's always like, oh, like what's your next race and that kind of thing. And
Obviously.
obviously the subtext is like you should have a next race.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess that can cause a little bit of angst, but at the end of the day, like I'm only going to do what I want to do and what motivates me. And I don't think it's not something you can do. It's not sustainable if you're just meeting outside expectations all the time. There has to be like intrinsic, true internal motivation. And so I suppose that's how these other things, whether it's climbing or cycling, I write about them and I share them because it's what I'm excited about. And if people aren't interested in it, then that's fine. I don't know.
Well, kids, that's just good life advice right there. Not just sports advice, but just good life advice. You put that in your back pocket and save it.
Yeah, and not sort of running away from the problems as well, because, when the injuries arrived, you thought, well, okay, well, how can I manage that? And the response to that is like, for other people, is like, they might have I can't run, what do I do? And
right.
you've shown everybody a way.
Well, for me, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and probably for the first 10 or 15, I was not good when I got injured. It was, I've never had like serious like mental health issues, but whenever, as runners, we know like when you get injured, like, you go into like at least a light depression, and that's not sustainable, and that's sort of, once I found, whether it's skiing in the wintertime or, riding a bike, rock climbing, these things, they fulfill me, I would say, nearly as much as running. Certainly enough to like keep my life on an even keel,
Nice.
when I'm dealing with an injury. But then ultimately, they've like allowed me to extend my running career because I don't know, maybe I run 5 days a week now, 4 or 5 days a week, but I don't know. I feel like I'm about as fit as I've ever been, and part of that comes from such a large lifetime base, but I think it's also if you can bring like the mental excitement and energy to running still after doing it for 30 years, then that's a net plus.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Look, we're going to have to wrap this up soon, unfortunately, but we do have Anton joining us tomorrow night.
Yeah, throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and of course Anton's going to be giving some live updates out on the course.
And you guys are going to be doing a workshop or a talk as well together tomorrow evening, right?
Yeah, tomorrow evening before the start of the 120K. So come down early. The build-up's going to be pretty. Like this is one of the highlights
Jono and
of
Anton
the year.
in person, like it's going to be fantastic.
That might not be the highlight, but the evening is going to be that. It's going to build. I swear. But what about some advice for the people like all the training is done, all the work is done, but it might be really quite a new experience for people, kind of being in such a big event. What about some kind of last minute or how to approach race day or race time and what they should maybe a couple of tips for them?
I'm going to assume that no matter what distance people are doing, that distance is a suitable challenge for them. It's just finishing it is probably going to be an accomplishment. And I don't know, when you're out there, try and have just some joy for where you are. Like, I was running this afternoon, and like it's an insane place where we are in the Dolomites. I think maybe it's easy to get desensitized to it. Like I said, I've been coming here for a decade.
No, I've been living here for long. No, every morning you wake up, you go and look out, and you go, my goodness.
Yeah, it's not normal.
This is not normal.
And I live
lucky.
in a very nice place in the United States, and I still feel a lot of gratitude for it every day. But so I don't know, draw inspiration from your surroundings, your fellow competitors, and that's why you do these races, is the community aspect of it, I think. And so lean into that when you're out there and having a hard time, and just know that the hard time is the point too, because you will feel so much better if you persevere and get to the finish. So.
Yeah, great advice. Look, thanks so much, Anton,
Yeah,
for,
thank you
for
so much,
joining
man.
us
Yeah,
here.
thanks, guys.
Stick around. We're going to do a selfie together, and we'll look forward to seeing you or to hearing and seeing
We're gonna
you
go.
soon.
We're gonna go on like about
on
a
a break.
2-hour pause, and then we're coming back at 5:30 our time. Bringing you the afternoon programming. A couple more interviews. We have Sophie Grant.
Yeah, Sophie Grant. Well done. Good accent there.
There you go.
Sophie Grant, fellow New Zealander, is going to join us on the show with her husband George, talking about what she's been doing running-wise, and she's had some challenges as well with injuries, and also we're going to touch on the supporters' role and how to crew at some of these races,
Nice.
because we might put runners on the pedestal and celebrate them, but there's always a team behind them.
Exactly. Not happening just one person.
Okay, thanks, Anton.
Thank you so
much,
we'll hear from
Anton.
you.
Thanks a lot, guys.